Yes, there you are.
Yeah, all right. Okay, yes, so my name is Krajzewicz, and I was asked to talk a little bit about a game that I released this year. I tend to be fast and maybe not loud enough. If it's the case, please let me know. Just say it. Yeah, so hi. That's too bad. It's not. I suppose I have to switch to the other window because it does not. Oh yeah, it does. Expect it. Okay. So well, I have been in the scene in the 80s already and have made some demos and a game as well. Atta, maybe one of you know it. But yeah, you know, then I started to study computer science and have a family and things like that. So I was not contributing to the scene anymore until 2017, where I met some people at demo group and a demo party, and it was quite fun. So I started to do a little bit of things on the C64, and well, I had the whole time I had a finished game on my discs, and which was 30 years old, and now I decided to release it. So well, it's a Brainbreak. It's in principle it's a puzzle game, and I will not show much of it. Just let's say, I hope it does work. Does it work? So maybe
that's a video.
yes.
That yes,
Okay.
yes. For the moment,
Right.
that's what you are.
So it's a puzzle game. You can yeah, well, that's the start screen. It's as said, I was in the demo scene, so that's why the game has some effects as well included. And yeah, I think the video shows it quite fast. So you have not a, let's say, not a high score, in fact, because the game consists of like 100 levels. And what you have is a list of players, and each player can, let's say, choose his name and then continue to play the game at the level he has finished at last. So the idea was that you have maybe friends or something like that, and every one of them can continue from a certain level. Why? Because well, the game is let's say it's a puzzle game, and you have of course to think a little bit about what happens and how to solve each of the levels. So you can select your name, then you can select the level where you want to start at, and yeah, then the game shows up. So that's the first level. What you're doing basically is you have matrix of 20 x 20 stones, gems, and other things. And what you have to do is to replay what's shown on the rebuild what's shown on the right side in gray. You have to rebuild this pattern within the game field simply by pushing stones. Yep. Sounds basic. It's a basic game, let's say, but it has some different special things. So it has a lot of different special stones, like arrows that change the direction of the stones, like gates which can be passed only in a certain direction, like gates which only pass stones or gems of a certain type. You have teleporters. You have something that destroys moving gems if a stone is pushed against it. Then you have something that eats things. You have switches, glue and things to glue, and morphers as well. And yeah, let's say what's really special about the game are the graphics, because the graphics are, let's say, using something that well, they are using Sprite Overlay, and what you can achieve with that is that you have a plain high-res field, let's say, or high-res graphics, and nonetheless you have two colors plus black in each of the 8.8 pixel fields, right? So you have really very colorful game in the end, which is, let's say, not what you can usually see on the C64. Yeah, well, it's used everywhere in the game. So let's say, I don't know whether we have maybe noticed how the text is faded in, but there Sprite Overlay is used as well in this shade pops effect, which has 6 colors, let's say, and of course within the game. Yeah, I will say some words about it in a few minutes. Okay, so yes, as I said, it was written in 1992 to 1994, and I could save the sources, so I had the sources saved on a 1581 and could read them on the PC using certain tools. Meanwhile it's not. I think it's meanwhile not no longer possible because the disks have changed on PCs, I suppose. So what I have to do is to use a very old laptop that still supports it. And so I had everything for building the game. I had sources in turbo assembler format. I had the graphics, the music. I had yeah, basically everything I needed. Just what I had to do is to export the sources because they were stored in a binary turbo assembler format, and then convert them to ASCII, and then well, yes, modern assemblers have slightly different notations at some points, like how words are defined or bytes are defined, but it was quite straightforward just by replacing things, and then I could build them using the Acme assembler. Yeah, so and within some hours I had the game back, let's say, and could it recompile on the PC. Yeah, and well, back in the time it was I just were using PAL computers, but meanwhile, of course, it's, let's say, the number of people is shrinking, so I wanted to support other variants as well. So NTSC above all, and PAL-N as well. You know, there's some difference between the different formats, like PAL runs with 50 Hertz, NTSC with 60. And yeah, so that's, let's say, was one of the things that I changed now in the version that's currently available. First to find out, yeah, first I had to find out what kind of computer it is, and I found some documentation on this on the web, and I'm using GWW's method for that. But then you can have, of course, to change the timing. So that's so the image below shows how it would look like if you are not switching the sprites, because what you have to do is to switch the sprites every 21 raster lines. You have to move them down by 21 pixels. That's uncomplicated. It can be done within, let's say, while the sprites are shown. But what you have to do really on an exact raster position is to switch the contents from, let's say, what was shown on top and to what shall be shown in the next 21 lines. So that's relatively, you know, you have to be exact. Let's say these are well-known methods, right? We all know raster bars. It's basically nothing else than that. Then changing the background color in each raster line. Just that you have to do it every 21 lines to move the sprites. And yeah, of course, it's let's say, because you are showing sprites, you have less time to do this. So that has to be, let's say, yeah, exact, or an exact position. What's shown on the right is basically, let's say, the main method that times the thing. So you have independence to the found VIC variant. You have certain tables that show you how long you have to wait between switching the sprites. And what's let's say is done as well within this method is is putting the animation on screen, because you have sprites on top, and what's below them is a bitmap, is an iris bitmap. And so let's say setting an animation takes some time, because you have to copy 8 bytes every time. So that's why it's done in the middle of the screen. And yeah, I have managed it to let's say to time it for PAL and for the old and the new NTSC versions, but I I haven't managed it to time it for PAL, and so it's not working on that systems. Yeah, of course I had to do many other things to make it run on different platforms. Simply because, as said, you have well, the repetition of drawing the screen is different, but the processor has still the same speed. So I wasn't capable to plot that many shade pops on an NTSC system. That has to be reduced, and yeah, as well, of course, the screens would flip faster between let's say the text and the effect and the high scores and things like that. So that has to be adapted as well. Of course, the music would be played faster on an NTSC system. What I have done now is to let's say to skip the music player routine every sixth frame. It does not make a difference to me, and the music speed is still the same as it should be. Yes, and I had a guy. I found a guy who, because I'm usually working on an emulators, but yes, I found a guy who could test the game on his own computer, and yeah, would like to thank him. Yeah. So okay, well, okay. Let's say coding was one part. Another issue was to release the game really to people. Let's say on a honest base. Sure, I could of course just supply a binary, but I wanted to make something nice. So at first I thought about the Kickstarter campaign, which did not work. The main comments why it did not work were, well, the price was too high. That was one thing. But first is the people argued that puzzle games are not liked that much. That was one thing. And some said that they were disappointed by prior campaigns for the c64 games, that the guys simply did not deliver what they wanted to deliver. Okay, now, well, but what I could gain by the Kickstarter campaign was the publisher, Psytronics, which who's now supporting physical copies. And I have contacted someone who could as well support cartridges. But it's, let's say, not scheduled yet. And yeah, well, nonetheless, we have as well decided to release a plain binary copy on itch.io this year. Yeah, and as I said, I wanted to make something nice, not just the game. The game was almost finished. What I as well wanted to do is to build the manual by myself, and as well the box of the game, or the title graphics of the game. So yeah, the manual is mainly, let's say, it's simply written in Word. It's nothing special, just that I wrote some scripts in Python which use the original graphics and then built some graphics for the manual, like yes, like the borders of the screen, for example. And what's also quite nice is that I found a tool which is capable to convert all c64 fonts to TTFF fonts. So let's say the headlines are written using the original font from the game, converted into TTF, and then, let's say, simply used in Word. That's quite nice. Yeah, and well, the box was fun for itself as well, simply because I had the idea how it could look like 30 years ago, but did not realize it by that time. And you know, I had to redraw the logo, and I had a model of the brain, so could import that and render that, but had to work on the lightnings, for example. So that was quite an interesting thing to think to write something that renders lightnings. I think meanwhile I've seen better than that, but it's nonetheless quite nice. Yeah, yeah, there are some reviews. The reviews are relatively positive, like 75% on average, I would say. I would rate the game a little bit higher simply because it really has very nice graphics, I think, which are unique, let's say, at least within this year. Yeah, what I like very much is that the game has been cracked. There's a crack by Lexity, which is even better than the original game, simply because they managed to include a packer for the levels, so the levels are compressed on within the release. They have not released it. It's, let's say, the release is just on the internet, but well, all the information about the release is on the internet, but there's no download link. And yeah, I would like to contact them, but I'm currently not allowed to enter CSDB because I was too inactive for too long time. I have to talk to them once again. Yeah, so well, what are the plans for the future? I'm trying to build a PC game, PC version of the game, which is still in the development due to lack of time. I would like to exchange levels if someone has built something new, but I by myself have no new levels as well. And yeah, I'm working on some libraries for building the levels on a PC and for solving them using some kind of an artificial intelligence. But yeah, that's in progress as well. And yeah, I do have some plans on further c64 projects, like a karaoke game. I know there's one, but I would like to have something built as a community project where people can simply add music and graphics and then make a let's say one song or something like that and contribute that to some releases, and of course make some demos and games as well. And I'm thinking about how to use this this graphic format for further games as well. Yeah, I've used different tools for when rebuilding this game, Brainbreak. Like I said, this Read 81 by Michael Groß, for reading the disk, Turbo Assembler, Petro-ASCII, different PC tools, right? Like GIMP, for example, Python, Pillow, yeah, and other things. Oh yeah, Charpet as well. It's a modern PC application for building c64 graphics. Quite nice. Yeah, that's basically all. If you want to contact me, you can find the game on itch.io currently. Sometimes I'm writing something about the c64 on my blog. And if you want to contact me, then here's my email address. That's all. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Daniel. That's really nice. I have actually one technical question that you did during the talk. So it was about the PAL, because also in the 80s we were using this PAL-SECAM, and then I was wondering how would it work with an NTSC or something. But you did answer that. I will not ask where did you find a 3D model of a brain. That I will not ask. I don't want to know.
Yeah, no, it's I suppose it's some kind of a scientific or medical thing or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, I like the idea of this community project, and I see that we have someone who likes as well the puzzle game there. So maybe that's a good idea. We can have like a hackathon and bring some people together for a weekend and start building some kind of game over the weekend. I don't know. I see one question here from Robert. Why did you decide to use the Sprite Overlay effect as opposed to just using a model like ECM, for example?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Why did you decide to use the Sprite Overlay effect?
Yeah, because in ECM you wouldn't have I mean, you could combine two colors in one char, right? That's true. But you still wouldn't have the third color. So that's the point, right? So, and using this more complicated thing, you have basically three colors in on one chart.
Okay, thank you. I see Wilfried wants to ask something. Wilfried, if you want to unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. So quite interesting. I would be interested in, since you have the game double licensed kinda. So you sell it on itch.io, but you also have the box with Cytronic, right? So was it difficult to achieve this, or is this standard?
To achieve what?
You sell the game via itch.io and via Cytronic at the same time.
Well, that's something that Cytronic proposed, in fact, to release the game as a digital version on itch.io and in parallel to sell it via them.
Okay, so they have no problem with,
no,
because they assume that collectors anyway will go for the box.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions, but again, if there are any more questions, people can put it in the chat. Thanks a lot. Sorry, last one maybe. Why choose to write a puzzle game? Are they your favorite type of game? Okay, that will be the last question, I guess.
No, definitely not. But it's like 30 years ago, and that was the point, right? And at that time, such games were relatively new, and that's the reason why I wrote one.
Good. Thanks again, Daniel. Thanks a lot. I will stop the recording now. And